Hello, everyone. This is your host, Gemma Putty, bringing vibrant living conversations from North Idaho and across this region. I'm so excited to chat with the entrepreneurs, creatives, and believers as we journey together to connect more deeply to ourselves, our earth, and our communities. So today I get to talk with Katie Millhorn of Millhorn Farmstead in Worley, Idaho. I found Katie through their raw milk, which sells at Pilgrim's, our local natural grocery store. I honestly don't drink a lot of milk, but earlier in the year, I was weaning my little boy off breast milk and suddenly found myself in the milk aisle, completely overwhelmed by how many options there were. And after some research, I was led to Katie's raw milk. So we'll get a little bit into that later, but right now, Katie, thank you so much for joining me. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, my pleasure. So we just mentioned that we've got a lot, there's so much that we could cover, but I'm interested to start with your fourth generation farmers. Do you want to just tell a little bit about your background and you've got a health story that you've overcome as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about your farming background and then we'll get into your health story next?
Sure. So my husband is actually, he's third generation. Our kids are fourth generation. And we've actually known each other since we were 6 years old. We used to ride the school bus together. And then as teenagers, I was working at the grain mill and he was coming in dumping grain truck. And he's worked on the farm, since day one, but basically since, about 12 years old, pretty heavily.
Wow.
My family has always farmed, as his has and beyond. And we both actually left the area to pursue different careers. Neither of us wanted to stay in farming.
Okay.
He left the farm and became a mechanical engineer. And I left the farm to go, pursue a degree in veterinary medicine.
Okay.
And it really was, I think, until you experience a little bit of the outside world and adulthood. And, my husband says it best that, he was born with diesel in his blood. And no matter how hard or like what you think as a teenager, we didn't want this lifestyle for our kids. We didn't want to, work a million hours a week and,
Right.
Don't open presents yet. Mom has to milk cows. We didn't want that for our kids. And you kind of just are so pulled to it because it's just who you are and what you're born into. And we both just have such a passion for it.
Right.
That here we are, we're back on the farm, years later and growing like crazy. But it is such a gravital pull. Like we can't get enough of farming and farming community.
I love that. Because now you're on over 10,000 acres, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And what animals do you have out there? I know you have quite the diversity.
Oh gosh. We have cows, Jersey cows, we have Scottish highlanders for beef. We have Finn sheep for fiber, ducks and geese and chickens and pigs.
Fun.
You name it, it's Old MacDonald's in a song.
I bet your kids, because you have 4 children, right?
Right.
And how old are they?
Our oldest is 19, our youngest is 5. So we joke we have a baby every 4.5 years.
What a way to be raised, though. I mean, I think about that as I'm talking to people such as yourself, but then talking to people still in Salt Lake, where I came from most recently, and such a diversity of ways to be raised, and more, especially in a COVID year. It's like, be on the farm and have your fingers in the dirt and have animals around you and the great open air. Like, what a gift.
Oh, I couldn't, and I say it all the time. My heart hurts for everybody right now. Kids in the city are trapped in an apartment where they don't have the freedom to just go, just run and play and be outside. Right. We're so used to just kicking the kids outside, or they're just part of farm chores. They help me milk and they feed the animals and they rotate the pastures and wash eggs. And I can't imagine raising them trapped in the city.
Right.
It's not, right now, you can't go to parks, you can't, go to play centers or gyms or whatever. And those parents have to be going nuts.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. There's no like, go run, go be with the cows. I'll see you in an hour.
no, it's a blessing for sure. We're very blessed.
Nice. So we talked a little bit about different versions of farming, and nowadays, oh gosh, there's different, like I was saying, being in the milk aisle, there's so many different things that are being marketed to you. What would you say that your mission and way that you do business on the farm is?
You know, our mission is to heal. You know, and that's how I got started. I never went into this business for a business.
Right.
You know, I never went into it with a capitalistic mindset thinking, oh gosh, if I do this and this, I'm going to make so much money and I'm going to start 40 dairies. And, you know, there was never that. It was, I need this to heal me and I can't be the only one.
Yeah.
You know, so if I'm going to do it, I might as well do it for other people.
No.
And it has grown and advanced from then.
So,
and it's really, you know, every year people have their, you know, businesses have their goal, whether it's a financial goal or whatever goal they want to meet to have, you know, success. And for me, my health and being in remission, that's a, you know, check.
right.
You know, and hearing other people's stories about how they can drink our milk or how our products has helped heal them.
Right.
That is why, you know, we do what we do. And that's our mission every day, you know, is to continue this journey and to help people do exactly what I've been blessed with.
That's, so do you want to say then that, I mean, that's a good segue into your health story. So did your health journey and then farming, were they kind of side by side? And when I mean, I know you'd been ill, and then did you start farming after that? I'll let you tell that story in a better way.
Yes and no. So I've always kind of had a homesteader's mindset. You know, we kind of grew up with that, you know, being 45 minutes out into the country, you always had a freezer full of beef, you know, you had a cow for Christmas, you know, but, you know, everything was in bulk because you're so far out there. We're on the mountain. Sometimes we were snowed in for, you know, weeks at a time. And so I just kind of grew up like that. You know, my grandma taught me how to can, and we never had commercial food. No packaged food, no preheat, no top ramen, no cereal, no soda.
Right.
So the not so much the farming, but the Whole Foods has always been really embedded into me.
Right.
And then, you know, here several years ago, about 10 years ago, I got diagnosed with a chronic immune disorder, and it floored me because I'd always been, you know, super healthy, super active, and it was one insane illness after another, and it was a fever for a month. Gosh. And then I woke up and I had literally about 20 canker sores in my mouth. Oh. And then you have rashes, and this is going on for about a year, you know, and doctors are like, oh, you eat too much acidic food, or, you know, oh, your body's just, you know, trying to compensate because by then I had a 4-month-old baby, you know, your body's trying to heal, you know. Right. And there's always an excuse. And, you know, one day my mom said, you know, maybe it's not illness after illness after illness. Maybe they're all related. Yeah. And it really wasn't until she said that, and she's a nurse.
Okay.
That it really scared me. I was like, oh my gosh, what if it is, you know, what if it's not just going to eat too many tomatoes or lemons, you know?
Yeah.
And it was, you know, doctor after doctor after doctor, and finally got a diagnosis, which takes a really long time, you know, especially with autoimmune disorders, because they're so different. You know, every patient is different. They have some different weird symptom.
Right.
And I was about a year into my treatment. I was doing injectable steroids, anti-inflammatories, and narcotics. Gotcha. And went to the doctor, and he said, you know, you can't have any more. Your kidneys can't handle any more steroids. Gosh. So he's like, you know, we have another treatment plan that we can go with. And I was shattered. You know, I had pretty much by then been on bed rest for months, and my mom quit her job and she was taking care of me and the kids. And here I was, you know, 30 years old.
Right.
And my mom is driving my kids to school and making a supper and doing my laundry. And emotionally, it just crushed me. And then for the doctor to say, no, just kidding, you can't have any more. You know, I felt like he took it. I was angry because I didn't get it. You know, I had just got my life back and I felt good. And so I came home and he had told me, you know, he has another treatment plan, and he had a alphanumeric name for his plan. And he kept saying it's a tumor shrinking agent. And I was like, okay, you know, pull down pants, give me injection. Like, and he's like, you need to educate yourself on this. And I didn't understand. I was like, if it makes me feel better and I'm mobile and can be a mom and a wife, like, why would you not give it to me? And
right.
like, this one doesn't work that way. You know, of course I'm like, you don't know anything, you know, cranky. And come home, and eventually my husband and I decided, you know, that is not the best course of treatment. You know, at 30 years old, my kids don't deserve to see me sick because of a treatment when they already see me sick because of an illness.
Right, right.
And we researched, and we really kind of came back to people healing themselves from ancient diets.
Yes.
And it was story after story of success.
Yeah.
And I was so excited about it. And I took all my research and all my findings to my rheumatologist. And, you know, I was like, oh, he's going to be so excited. I got this newfound information. And I said, I'm going to heal this with diet and exercise. And he laughed at me, and he was not impressed with my information.
Interesting.
And I left there in tears, and he really assured me that I can't beat chronic illness without modern medicine.
Interesting.
And
Because you had, is it lupus? Is that
lupus,
right?
yeah.
Okay. And that's interesting because, like you said, there's so many stories out there about healing yourself with the simplicity, right? Boiling down to, okay, what are you eating your body? And that is interesting that they just didn't even want to hear it.
They didn't, but I did learn, you know, after seeing doctor after doctor and hearing stories, as frustrated as I was with him and my primary, they're not taught anything other than pharmaceutical modern medicine.
Right.
They're not taught nutrition. You know, only 3% of physicians in America are actually taught nutrition.
Right.
And so I can't get mad at him for not exploring a different option.
Right.
He has one mindset: you treat everything with pharmaceuticals. That's how he was taught. You know, and it took me a long time to accept that.
Right.
And
don't you feel like too, I've heard, and even with myself, and it took me a while to get pregnant, and fertility issues and hormone balance. When I actually had that realization that I was trying to put my doctor on a pedestal, almost like I wanted him to give the answers that I really needed to tune into myself to know, because I was like, okay, I've got to listen. Like, I know, like when your mom said, oh, maybe they're all connected, like some part of you like knew, like, oh gosh, I don't want to know that, but some part of me knows that they are. And then when you start doing the research and you see like people have healed, like some part of you again is like, I can do this. Like, you need the doctor to a point. Like Western medicine, of course, has its place, but having that like back in your own hands of like, it's me choosing to feed myself in different ways. Like that is so empowering at the same time, right?
It is for sure. And, you know, I didn't think I ate unhealthy.
Right.
You know, because
scary part, right? Or like
that was it, you know. And I remember, you know, in the middle of our journey, about 2 weeks after I went to the doctor and told him my newfound information, I ended up back in the hospital and sick, and I just wanted somebody to, you know, give me a shot in the butt and make it better again.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I look back and I think that's why so many people, I think, fall to modern medicine, is because it is so easy.
Right.
You know, it's not, that doesn't, it eliminates all the struggle.
Right.
You know, like, he's going to fix me. And you put your faith in these providers, and they can only help you as much as they know.
Right.
You know, and it really wasn't until I was laying in bed, and which was a chronic thing, laying in bed. And every morning my husband would wake me up and he would say, mind over body, mind over body, mind over body. And about 6 months into him saying mind over body, I was like, I'll show you mind over body. Because I'm thinking, you don't understand. You don't know what it feels like. I feel like I have the flu, and, you know, I need to nap all day long. You know, there's some days I would sleep almost 18 hours a day.
Wow.
With children at home.
Yeah.
And he didn't come in one day, and I kept thinking of all these things I wanted to do. And I just heard him, and I hear mind over body. And I got up and I took a shower and got dressed, and I went to the pantry and I threw away all of our food and all of the spices, everything prepackaged, taco seasoning, you know, silly things.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't until I did a elimination diet completely did I realize how much food was playing a role in my health.
Interesting.
And
it was the, like, I mean, the preservatives in taco seasoning, right? Like if it's in a package and is able to sit on the shelf for 6 months or a year, there's something in that that is chemical and probably doesn't need to be in your body. Was it things like that, like small?
Yeah, it was, you know, I remember going to the grocery store and I bought, you know, grass-fed beef, and it was like $13.99 a pound. And I was, you know, how much healthier can you get, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And woke up the next day feeling awful. And I thought, no, I did everything right. I made, you know, homemade tacos with homemade tortilla shells with, you know, and then I look at the packet and it's filled with, you know, MSG and gluten and all these things that are triggers. And I think sometimes when you're in the midst of a health crisis or a flare, your body is so sick that it's just going to react to everything. So something as simple as, you know, a couple spoonfuls of taco seasoning, my body was just like, nope, you can't have that. And and there was several, you know, things that like that happened. Toothpaste. I can't use commercial toothpaste.
Interesting.
It was giving me the canker sores. Shampoo, same thing. Like, I didn't know, you know, that it has toxins in it. You know, the sodium lauryl sulfate. You know, it's a huge trigger for autoimmune disorders. Dryer sheets. All these things that I had in my home that I thought I was, you know, doing great things as a mom and a wife and a provider. And they're constantly keeping me sick. So it wasn't until I really gutted my whole house did I start to heal myself.
Yeah.
And really my farming journey started right then. You know, going grocery shopping was such a huge event because I had to go to 3 or 4 different stores to get what I needed. Yeah. And here I'm carting around 3 kids then, and not feeling well anyways, and to try to, you know, undo seatbelts and car seats and it became terrible. And I thought, I'm not the only mom or parent trying to do this, trying to feed your kids healthy. You know, you shouldn't have to go to 3 or 4 spots.
Right.
You know, I got my raw milk at one spot and chicken at a different spot, and I was literally driving all over town just to feed my family.
Right.
And that kind of was my fuel. That was my fire to, you know, it's not just me. And I can heal my body on raw A2 milk, then I'm going to get me a milk cow.
Yes.
And I wanted corn-free, soy-free chicken. I couldn't find any. And if you do find it, it's shipped in from California. There has to be somebody local.
Right.
Like, you're driving 2 hours, and that's not sustainable either.
Right.
I was like, well, I guess I'm getting me some chicken. Same with the pastured pork situation. And as soon as people heard, you know, what I was doing or how I had healed myself with whole food products, then I really established a really nice customer base. And just kind of grew from there. And hearing their stories about how my products have helped them or helped their family or helped them heal, that is such a fire for me. It drives me more than any capital, amount that anybody could set a bar for.
Right.
Absolutely my favorite thing ever.
I love that. And I think there's that key piece that you said too about there's so many things that can play into a toxic life. So people are like, oh, dryer sheets, are they really that big of a deal? Oh, do I really need raw milk? It's like, but when you've got a lot going on, when your body has been triggered by one thing or another thing, it's like adding in whether the toxins are being rubbed into your scalp from the shampoo or brushed into your mouth by the toothpaste. It starts to add up, and with a certain body that may be triggered more than others, it's suddenly taking that piece and then finally, okay, I'm going to start with a dairy cow, and now I'm going to add the eggs and chipping away, right? People get so overwhelmed, I think, and the concept of leaky gut, like what? My gut is like leaking toxins into my, like just start small, take it the first step and then take the next step. And there's other people that have stories, and just empower yourself with inspiration from other people. It sounds like what you did for yourself and now have been able to do from your customers as well.
Oh, for sure. I wouldn't be where I'm at if I had not read other people's stories and other people putting themselves out there.
Right.
And sharing, what healed them or what didn't work, or, hey, watch out for this. And then now having my customers come back and, just be so thankful. And, it really does add up. And I tell people all the time, like, your end of the story is somebody else's beginning.
Yeah.
You have to share, because that's how people learn.
Right. No, for sure. Well, it's been this interesting thing because my grandparents had their own garden. They were like World War II, they had their huge garden. My nan would bake with, regular flour, like regular, not processed. And then it was the 60s, 70s were convenience food, packaged food. We thought that was the solution, right? It's just funny watching this evolution of humanity being like, we thought this was the solution, so we had more time. But then what are we spending our time doing? Like really feeding ourselves whole, nourishing foods, gardening, having our fingers in the dirt, having chickens run around, have your kids play in the field.
Yeah.
Like what is more important than that?
Yeah.
And I think now there's more autoimmune diseases we hear than ever, right? Our country's on like a pandemic of diabetes, all of these, because of these conveniences that are actually have turned out to be toxic. So it's nice to hear, though, we're coming full circle. You're going back to the soil and being like, actually, this is where I need to be for peace of mind, for health, for wellness.
Yeah. They say grandma had it, mom got rid of it, I'm bringing it back.
Yes.
And it's so true. All my gardening knowledge, all of my canning knowledge, whole food, it all comes from my grandma, because my mom is busy working.
Right. Yeah.
And grandmas, they just, I wish I still had one.
Right. Me too.
And now my mom is transformed back to, just like grandma and just like me, now that she's not working. But, they really did have this appreciation for land. And, oh, you got a runny nose, don't lay in bed. You need to go outside and let it drip.
Right.
Exactly. You're depressed, you're having a dark day, go play in the soil. It really is healing mentally.
Yeah. No.
They just had a different mindset, where I think, my younger culture, you Google.
Right.
Oh, what antibiotics or what can I take, instead of, okay, 100 years ago, what did they do?
Right. Which plant did they eat, or which? Yeah. For sure. Oh, I love that. So when you were kind of cleaning out your kitchen, was there a certain, now there's so many types of eating styles, was there a certain diet, I hate that word, but style of food or recipes that you were following to after you did your elimination diet?
We went pretty strict paleo.
Okay.
And I liked the paleo for several reasons. One, it's easy.
Right.
And it's kind, like a cheater keto. you know, you're never hungry on paleo. You know, if you eat meat and eggs for breakfast and meat for lunch with a salad and meat and salad for dinner, you're not hungry.
Yeah, right.
Nothing is worse than being on a diet and
Right.
being starving.
Yeah.
You know, because one, your body is in constant fight or flight and you're doing nothing but producing cortisol. And you're cranky, you're irritable, and life sucks. But if you're full and content and have healthy fats to feed your body and fuel your brain, then life, it just has a really different outlook. So we chose that one, and specifically because it was the most ancient.
Yeah.
You know, we started sprouting our own grains, sprouting everything before we baked anything. Nuts, sprouting nuts, and then put them in the dehydrator, you know, making them easier to digest for your gut.
Right.
Fermented milk, so a kefir, you know,
Yeah.
it's really gut healing. And you know, I love the ancientness of the paleo, and I would buy all these old cookbooks, you know, from, you know, between 1920s and that era, because grandmas know how to cook. You
Yeah.
know, you look in there and it's like 2 tablespoons bacon fat. You know, it's not like Crisco or margarine. It's butter, bacon
Yeah.
fat, flour. There's like 5 ingredients, and that's how we should cook. We shouldn't be, you know, cooking with 3 miles worth of ingredients that you had to order off Amazon. You
Right.
know, if you never heard of, you know, you need just a couple things. And the recipes were so simple and they were so direct and they're really easy to adjust based on what my body was or was not tolerating at that time.
Oh, did you have a favorite cookbook? I am obsessed with cookbooks. I just can't get enough and especially like you're saying, ones from different eras or from different parts of the world where it's just more simple and real.
You know, favorite cookbooks? No, I have favorite authors.
Okay.
Uh, Danielle Walker, Against the Grain, which I eat grains, but I love her style of writing. And her personally, she's got a really great soul. Jill Winger, she writes very down to earth.
Nice.
You know, anything older, sometimes you can find like the fair cookbooks, like something county fair.
Oh,
There's
yes.
spiral bound or Amish brand cookbooks. Those are my favorite because they're so easy and they're massive, right? Like if you want to cook for 47 people, this is your recipe. You know, and with a family of 6, I'm like, yes, 47, 6, same thing. Like I want this recipe, you know. So those are my favorite, though. Just the old ones, the ones that kind of smell like a dirty library. They're good, hearty recipes, and rarely are they bad.
Yeah. Oh, fun. More recipe books to add to my list. Well, plus in those ones you can find at the thrift store, which is also fun to just be like ones that have already been loved. Yes. Oh, I love that. So, I mean, you mentioned a little bit, we've mentioned, oh, let's talk about raw milk actually before we get into more of your products, because like I said, when I started to, I just haven't drank a lot of milk. I've never been a big milk person. I've loved kefir. I like a little bit of kefir, like on my breakfast, or I cook with it or whatever, because I also know the gut health of it. But when it came to milk, and I'm like, okay, so I've been breastfeeding my son for a year, and now I'm trying to replace kind of, right, the benefits of milk that's coming straight from a healthy mother to something that I'm finding in the store, and I was completely overwhelmed. So raw milk was where I found the unpasteurized version has the more bacteria and healthy things for all of us.
Yeah.
How do you, I know there's a lot of controversy about, right? There's a reason people pasteurize, and how do you go about that and then sell it at Pilgrims that in a way that you're like, this is healthy and it's bringing the best, it is bringing quality nutrition? I don't know that that was a great question, but.
No, I understand what you're trying to say. You know, one, we know our product is safe. We, you know, there's guidelines that we go through. There's cleaning processes that we go through. Department of Ag comes and tests us every 30 days. They sample our milk. They, you know, look around. And you know, there's it's really likely that raw dairy farmers get shut down. You hear about it all the time.
Okay.
And so you have these procedures set in place to make sure that you're on top of stuff all the time. You know, you're always testing your cows. You're always checking milk. You are on it to make sure that you're offering the safest of product. I know the majority of my product is sold for parents, moms, and babies. You know, lots of people buy my milk for infant formula.
Yeah.
And my kids, two of my kids survived off a raw milk formula. Because of my lupus, I was not able to breastfeed.
Oh, right. Okay.
And starting at about 2 weeks old, they were drinking raw milk from my cows, fortified from a Weston A. Price recipe. And they flourished. And I get calls all the time, parents doing the exact same thing. And I can't stress cleanliness enough in my barn, especially going to those smaller little critters drinking milk, and that's their only form of nourishment. So it's, you know, I know several route dairies in the area, and they're the same. You know, like, we know this is subjective to being high risk, and so we set these, you know, protocols into place to make sure that we can offer the very best of the best.
Right.
You know, and contrary to that, if you've seen commercial dairies, you know that cleanliness really isn't a thing. It doesn't have to be, you know, because everything is heat treated.
Yeah.
It's filtered, heat treated, and everything is killed. Good bacteria, bad bacteria. So then they fortify it by adding vitamins and nutrients back into the milk. And then they add sugar to it because they've heated it to a point where it's actually bitter. So basically you're drinking vitamin water, vitamin calories. You know? So you're not getting what nature intended by having a pasteurized product.
Right.
You know, when you take a raw milk straight out of the udder, it is a alkaline substance. Once you heat treat it, it becomes an acidic food.
Okay.
And we learned in the 30s that no disease, including cancer, can survive in a alkaline environment.
Right.
Yet we're drinking gallons of an acidic food, killing our gut.
Right.
Destroying all the good stuff that we need to actually absorb those nutrients.
And it's fascinating because, I mean, most of the milk containers in the store is pasteurized. I won't go down that train anymore, but so then there's the difference between A2 and A1 proteins.
Yes.
Will you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So first of all, I say any raw milk is probably better than a pasteurized milk if you're going to drink it.
Right.
Lots of farmers, you're seeing this A2 trend. And A2 typically comes from a older breed of cow, a heritage breed, a Jersey, a Guernsey, maybe a Shorthorn, but less likely with a Holstein.
Okay.
And we've just domesticated them, and they've been hybrid, so they actually broke that amino acid chain. Now the 69th chain, it actually mutated. So their milk qualities are not that of a heritage breed. It's a complete different product. So, you know, they've found that even people that are drinking raw milk, they're still having funny gut issues, or they're still sick. And they found that it's that break in the amino acid, the proline chain, that is actually encouraging inflammation within the gut.
I see.
And they tested it on mice, and they, you know, brought it to the New Zealand Dairy Bureau, and, you know, they showed them all these studies and in their paperwork. And the scientist that actually did this, he trademarked the term A2 milk. And you'll see that in the grocery store. It's in a little carton that says A2 milk.
Okay.
And because he trademarked that, small dairy farmers like we can't use the term A2 milk. It's actually illegal because he owns it.
Oh, no.
So we have to, you know, we do tricky things like our cows are A1 negative, or they're A2 certified. You know, so it's another one of those games that we have to play to tell people, like, hey, we have A1 negative milk. It's raw, it's healthy, it's good for your body. And it's really hard to do that when there's always a political game somewhere,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, and I think, I mean, your website is a wealth of information. So I would suggest anyone that has more questions to go to that, because I was reading some articles and that's, I mean, of course, I found your raw milk and then I'm like, okay, I don't know enough about this to feel comfortable right now feeding it to my small child. So I looked at your website and found some more information. And of course, you can go down rabbit holes of someone thinking one thing or the other thing. But ultimately, I'm all about intuition too. And you're at Pilgrims, and more over the last couple of years, I've been like, why are we eating egg whites? Why is the whole egg good enough as nature intended it? What about the raw milk? Isn't it just good straight out of the cow? Why do we need people to mess with it? And this is obviously my experience and what has worked for my family, but that's more and more where I am coming from. And like raw milk, perfect. So now my question is it, and forgive me, I don't know anything about dairies, so are your cows not producing milk now? Is that why I can't find you at Pilgrims anymore?
Legally, you're only allowed to milk so many cows in the state of Idaho. And I have hit that mark where I can't bring on any more cows.
I see. Okay.
And so I sell out everything I can squeeze out of that udder.
I see.
And I wish I could have, 50 cows and put all this milk on the shelves and have all my farm direct people come and get their milk, but my cows only make so much milk.
Right.
And legally I can only sell so much milk. And right now we're getting ready, we're getting ready for calving here in the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
And so we're dwindled pretty low. So it's what Pilgrims gets is a pretty low quantity to what they would like and to what I typically supply them.
I see.
But here come middle of January, we should be back up and in full running. But yeah, I give my cows a break, like every nursing mom, I know lots of moms that tandem feed, but there comes a point where that mom needs a break and her body needs to grow and, be able to develop, production wise for both that calf and for her.
Right.
And so I give them a really lengthy break and let them enjoy their maternity time. But I think it's healthy for them, and I don't push my cows too hard because they're my everything and I know what it's like, and so they get this little break and they take a little vacation and back in business and earning their keep. But for now they're out on pasture and eating hay and just being bums.
I love that. No, because it was funny as I was reading the article, I'm like, no, I get it, girls. Like cows, moms, whatever it is, like breastfeeding is hard and producing milk is stressful. Girls, go take your little break. I'll keep stalking Pilgrims for the next time that I can go buy it.
Yeah. So it's always hard to turn away business, especially during winter, there's a really high demand for dairy because whether people think of it or not, dairy is a comfort food.
Oh, for sure.
Right. People they're cooking and they're baking and they're using all these dairy products, where in the summer, when you're working in the yard, working in the garden, you're hot and sweaty, nobody goes in the house and wants a glass of milk.
Right.
They want beer or a Gatorade, or nobody takes a jug of milk on the boat or camping. So summer sales always dwindle, but here we are, the thick of winter, and dairy sales are through the roof. And I'm like, sorry, my girls are on vacation.
But you also have integrity for your animals, for your business, for the product that you're putting out. And as a customer, we can't ask any more of our suppliers. So I respect that. I was just like, I just don't understand what's happening right now. So I'll ask Katie when I talk to her.
Yeah, Tuesdays and Fridays, I still deliver. Most of the time it's there before noon. I have a whole customer base that will actually, from Pilgrims, that will call me or text me like, have you delivered yet? And they'll be waiting in the parking lot and see me pull in, and they run in and they stand there and they're like, milk from Katie for me?
I see. So that's what I've got to do to get milk from you. I see.
Just for a couple more weeks.
So awesome.
Well, I appreciate your faithfulness. I absolutely love it.
So your other products, you've got kefir, eggs, you said beef and pork, right?
Yeah, we do pastured pork and pastured poultry, chickens and turkeys. And we also have cream and butter.
Nice. And all of those, can we find all of those at Pilgrims as well?
Just the dairy
Just
and the eggs. Everything else is farm direct.
Okay.
So we pre-sell our pork. We do 2 butcher dates, April and then in October. And then we butcher 8 times for our poultry throughout the summer.
I see. Okay. So we can find that on your website.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then you talked a little bit before about what is important if we're not able to buy from you for whatever reason, what is important for us to be looking at as to what the animals that we're consuming are being fed? There's now you go to the egg section even, it's like cage free, grass fed, blah, 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 blah. Like just a couple of things, because I'm sure we could talk about this all day long, but what are a couple of things for you that you would tell your customers to look for in just buying products in general?
For me, it's really important that you know your farmer, and lots of people are like, well, your milk is sold out. What milk should I buy? And I say, go to their farm. If you want to know where your food comes from, go to their farm. We have an open barn door policy. My customers are welcome. Come out. Let's do a farm tour. You can meet my cows. You can see exactly what they eat. You can know their name. Your kids can chase the chickens.
Nice.
It's so important because anybody can use any of those labels on their website. Natural, grass fed. I know lots of people that say grass fed. Yes, but they are also grain fed. It's a game.
Yeah.
And so unless you literally go there and you meet them, and I know lots of people can't go to every farm that they buy products from, and lots of people just plain don't allow visitors.
Right.
But I think it's incredibly important. Your job is to, feed your family as best and as healthy as you can. So let's go. You interview a plumber or your contractor or a doctor,
right.
But people don't interview their farmer, and
right.
they should. That's incredibly important. Go to the farm, meet the cows. How do they look? Is the hay black and moldy, or does it smell great? Are they covered in poop? Are their butts pasty? Like, how do the cows look? Are they friendly? Are they afraid of you? There's a million questions you can ask your farmer, but if they invite you to the farm and come and hang out and just have a day, like this is what I have to offer. Like, right. I have nothing that I am hiding. I think every farmer should have that same policy. It's really important.
Yeah. Oh, I love that for sure. I even talked to the fish folk a couple of weeks ago, and theirs was the same. Like, obviously they're not raising the fish, but they know, they've done the research. Mm-hmm. They're feeding the product to their children. They eat it on a daily basis. So that speaks volumes. They're the expert. And I think that's the goal in life, right? We can't be the expert in everything. So surround yourself with great people that love what they're doing and can be the expert for you, especially when it comes to things that are empowering your health or degrading your health, right?
For sure. And then, stores like Pilgrims are awesome that way. You can ask them, hey, have you been to this farm? And they will tell you, they know exactly what we are feeding our animals. They thoroughly vet their farmers. They've sat at my kitchen table for hours and hours at end, doing just exactly what everybody else should. Like, how well do we want to know her, and they could tell you, tell me about this farm, or have you seen these chickens, or, what does this chicken eat? And they have a list of feeds. And so a good, knowledgeable, natural health food store like that should be able to help supply people with exactly the information that they need to do if they can't travel to that farm.
Oh, I love that. And I think nowadays, with the food options that we have, like across the full range, that's the one thing that's like our first option in like keeping ourselves healthy, right? Yeah. Like if you've got good health insurance, yeah, that's right. But hopefully you never need to go to the doctor, because the stuff that you're putting in your body, right? It's Aristotle that's like, food is thy medicine, yep, or should be, right? Yeah. And let's just feed ourselves well, and then hopefully you don't have to get to the doctor. And there's plenty of people out there, you know, I mean, you've had major things, I've had major things, and we're both people that were like, if you'd asked me before I had fertility issues, I would have said I'm super healthy, but obviously there was something that wasn't working for my specific body. And learning that and then empowering yourself with the tools, like simple things, go for a walk, know your farmer.
Well, and it's, you know, it's mind-blowing to me. We know as a society that bad food deteriorates our health. We know you cannot survive off eating McDonald's every day. You're going to get sick. Everybody knows that.
Right.
But people don't stop to think maybe healthy food could restore your body.
Right.
Maybe they could heal you. You know, we think of, you know, just, well, I can't eat that, or, you know, but you really can heal your body on nutrition.
Yeah, you really.
And I thankfully am living proof of that. And there's millions of other people out there that are as well.
Right.
And it's really, you know, I think we see it more now after COVID or during COVID, more people wanting to be in touch with their food and be a direct link in their food supply.
Yeah.
You know,
I think we say that though, but there's still, and this is the bubble that you and I get to live in, is like, oh, we know that our bodies want to heal themselves.
Yeah.
But like anything, like the doctors that we go to, the Western doctors that were taught a certain view of the world, I feel like there's still people that have a view of the world, and they were taught that convenience food is the way to live life, because then we have more time for this, this, or this. So it's still interesting that there's a thriving culture of fast food and pre-made food, and you don't even have to make Thanksgiving dinner anymore. You can buy it all in a box.
I know.
It's just like, but bring it back to like what's important, like being in the kitchen with your family, and like, oh, this chicken came from Katie and I went and picked it up, and my kids played with the dog and chased the cows, and then I brought it home and now I can smell these aromas. That, I think, is what you and I were talking about, even just the beauty in this year of slowing down. We've been lucky enough to stay healthy, and that's the kind of stuff, simplifying, which is what seems to be health all by itself.
For sure. And, you know, I'll tell you that when people come out and they see how animals are raised, and they see the time and effort it takes to raise food, pork, poultry, the kids aren't wasting food. Right. You know, 45% of the food produced in America gets thrown in the garbage.
Right.
Every one of those kids saw those animals being raised and know, oh, I saw this critter playing around at Katie's farm. Right. They're not throwing their pork chop in the garbage.
Yeah.
There's a different value for that life when they know what it went into to actually put that food on the table.
Yeah.
And I think when you have that, then you have this drive. It's like having a garden. You know, people say, my kids are really picky eaters, they don't eat vegetables. And I tell them, build a garden. You know, if your kid takes that pride into growing tomatoes, they're going to want to eat them all day long. It's a different mindset when you put yourself in the, I saw this produced, or I know how this was produced, or I produce this myself. There's no waste, you know, and you don't want to go eat junk food because you're like, gosh, how did they treat those animals? What drugs were those animals given? You know, there's just this different pride that both kids and, you know, adults have that, you know, we see all the time, and I love it.
Oh, I do love that. Oh, well, I feel like we could talk all day. I mean, sure. Is there anything else that you want to comment on or tell us about before we kind of wrap up?
You know, I think, you know, we touched base on a lot of it. Right now, my kid's knocking at my office door.
Mom life, I love it.
I know they're everywhere. I say my life is like a Where's Waldo puzzle. Like, oh, there's one. You know, you can get our products both farm direct and at Pilgrim's Market, and we do lots and lots of farm tours. So if anybody wants to, you know, come out in the spring when it's not muddy and cold and snowing, you know, come on out, and we love to show you around, show you what to do. And, you know, I could talk about cows and pigs and chickens all day long. So I'm free to answer questions. I absolutely love it.
Awesome. And I'll link your website. You're active on Facebook and Instagram, right? Yeah.
For the most part.
Love it. So now my final question that I like to ask everyone is, I say vibrant living, which for me means just holistic mind, body, spirit, health. Who around here in this region inspires you?
When I think about my journey and what I've had to do to get here, there's really two people that come to mind. My first one is my chiropractor, Wendy Cunningham, and she's in Hayden, and she's a holistical chiropractor, and she's very, natural minded, but very deep rooted in her knowledge. And, it's very physical to run a farm and to, move cows and lift things. And it really takes a toll on the body. And she's such a wealth of information to why you feel the way you do, and your body needs this nutrients, or let's look into this. And I really rely on her, to help me stay in alignment so I can be the best that I can be.
Oh, love that.
Knowing, how, if I have any issues, she's smart, and she's, helps me with my supplements and taking care of my body when I'm super busy and maybe not making the best choices. She has no problem being like, you need to focus on this, or let's work on this supplement. And so often we forget to say thank you or acknowledge those people that actually keep us mobile and keep us doing what we do. And she is huge. I always tell people, you need two things. You really need a farmer, and you really need a chiropractor. She absolutely, I couldn't do what I do without her. And she's a woman boss, an entrepreneur, and a mom, and she's fabulous.
Oh, I love that.
My other one is really Joel Hamilton, and Joe owns Pilgrim's Market in Coeur d'Alene. And Joe's story, I think, is a lot like mine, minus illness. I think Joe saw the lack of available food. I think he saw that break in the food chain, and he wanted to bring that to Coeur d'Alene. And he took this, kind of this rundown neighborhood, right, and created this health food store. And in this dream of growing a business and growing a community. And it's really been amazing to watch him grow and to produce, all these local farmers, bring them together and, educate people on why you need to eat a certain way, and let's bring the best products all in one store.
Right. Yeah.
And he's a really great entrepreneur. I love listening to Joe.
Nice. Oh, yes. I mean, and like I said, Pilgrims is my go-to. I don't know where I would go. I mean, there's some other options, but it's so nice to go there and be connected to local people that I wouldn't know about your farm if it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to give him a call, give him a chit chat too.
They're a wealth of information. They really do believe what they speak. They want local farmers to be connected to the food system. They're an amazing wealth of information.
Oh, that's so good to know. Fabulous. Well, Katie, again, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been nice to just have this conversation, and even we might be remote, but face to face is always nice to get to know you.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.